Batgirl number 13, written by Gail Simone, art by Ed Benes. This is technically a prelude to Death of the Family, but only in the most superficial way. So we open up last issue, issue 12. We had Batgirl fighting Nightfall. She got stabbed in her side and is seemingly bleeding out. And this issue picks up with her bleeding out. And she's like, I see different colors, and that's not normal. And so Nightfall standing over and being like, your bat people have let Gotham turn into a rat hole, and now I'm here to fix it. You're the problem. I'm here. I'm the solution. So she's just taunting Batgirl as she's standing over, and she's like, okay, well, you know who I am, but it doesn't matter because I have won. I've defeated you. Ha 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 ha. So she steps away from Batgirl, still bleeding out on the ground, calls for her henchmen to come and get rid of the body. But of course, Batgirl finds that little bit of extra fighting spirit, and they go and have a big old punch-out fight. And Batgirl's like, okay, I gotta take her down real quick, because otherwise I am actually about to die. So let's just get this over with. And we see that during the fight, James Gordon Jr. is watching through, I guess, the security cameras. Sure. And he's like, oh, Batgirl, I almost can touch you now. So at this point, Batgirl's like, take off the mask, Nightfall, I know who you are. And she's like, fine, okay, here's who I am. And here's my tragic backstory. And I don't know if you remember a few issues ago where it was like, yeah, no, she definitely killed her whole family. Turns out she didn't. So what actually happened was her father was, of course, super rich. And to be that super rich, he did some scummy things. But she eventually got into a relationship with this guy named Trevor. And Trevor seemed super cool because he didn't care about Daddy's money. He liked her for her. But as it turns out, that was all a ruse. And he was the one who actually killed her entire family. And he, strapped her down and forced her to watch as he murdered all of them. And apparently he didn't do it, to get the money. He did it because he genuinely believed that much money only makes you evil. So he did it in his own weird, self-righteous way. So anyway, she broke, and basically Batgirl was like, okay, so what happened to Trevor? And he's like, oh, Trevor? Yeah, well, I didn't report him to the police, so that way I could have my own way with him. And it turns out that the other dude in the cell in her office with, stitched up eyes and mouths and all that, that's Trevor. She's been torturing him for years. And Batgirl's like, Jesus, okay, so why did you go to Arkham? He's like, oh, I went there in order to learn. I was surrounded by all the greatest murderers and horrifying people that I could ever hope to come with. And I learned how to do these horrible, horrible things. So, yeah, that's my story. And so at that point, Batgirl's like, okay, you've got your own little monologue thing going on. I'm bleeding out. I'm just going to go. I'm going to take Ricky, the guy I came here to save, with me. And also, I'm going to take Trevor. And immediately she lashes out and goes after Batgirl's like, no, you can't take Trevor. He hasn't suffered enough yet. So fight continues on, and Batgirl's like, I'm genuinely about to pass out. This is not going to end in my favor. Until Ricky grabs one of Nightfall's punches, I guess, through the bars and holds her still long enough for Batgirl to just lay in a bunch of sucker punches that you can't defend herself from. So Charisse is knocked out, and Batgirl's about to pass out as well. And she's like, okay, Ricky, let's get you out of that cell and you can help me out of this building. But at that point, Batwoman and the detective, who I completely forget, Miss Carnes, that's it. No, Miss Carnes is the other, Charisse's name. I genuinely forget the name of the detective. But anyway, they're like, okay, well, let's all get out of here. And it's like, what do we do with her? And it's like, she's arrested. The cop is going to arrest her because she just admitted to all this stuff. And she's like, oh, well, I'm rich. I'll be out by morning. And Batgirl's like, yeah, and I'll be ready to fight you again. And then we see her in her monologues like, I mean, I hope. Yeah, I'm hoping I can do that. So anyway, a few hours later, she's all stitched up via some back alley surgeon or whatever like that. Her roommate comes in and says like, hey, that's weird. You gonna tell me what that's about? And she's like, nope. Hey, that looks like a cat I used to have when I was a kid. She's like, yeah, its name is Alaska. And she's like, wow, that's the same name as the cat that I had when I was a kid. That's weird. So At that point, she gets a call from her mom, and her mom is just freaking out, saying how she can't get a hold of her dad, and they're right outside the door. And at that moment, the prelude to Death of the Family comes in as Barbara's own door, oh no, sorry, the mother's door, my bad, gets knocked down with an axe, and as it turns out, it's a bunch of clowns, like Joker goons, outside. And it looks like they're about to reenact Killing Joke. And then we get 2 days later, inside Blackgate Prison, Belle Reve Prison, and Arkham Asylum, where the first three villains of this series, Mirror, Gretel, and Grotesque, are all being talked to by some mysterious people who are basically saying, hey, we'll get you out of prison on one condition. You have to kill Batgirl. And we see that the three people doing this are the three goons that Nightfall hired. Bonebreaker, Bleak Michael, and the one with the wings. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so as a prelude, a tie-in, whatever you want to call it, to Death of the Family, that's useless. Like, this was, I know I put like the banner or whatever, but it's not. So whatever. As the end of the Nightfall arc, I guess it did give me the twist that I didn't see coming, in that she didn't actually kill her family. Like, she wanted that person to suffer bad enough that she became a killer herself. So it's got something there. I think it definitely would have done better if it didn't have to pause for that Zero issue last month. If it just flowed right along, because it did definitely feel like, oh, we're building, and now we're doing this other thing here, and now the finale. It's like, it just didn't quite work there. But overall, I guess this would probably be, it's like a 6.5. It's good. It's not great. It's just kind of a thing of like, okay, this person who didn't actually really end up doing anything. She tortured the guy who murdered her parents, and then mutilated this one other guy. And that's it. That's all she ended up getting done. Kind of a lackluster group overall, but it is leading to bigger things, so I'm at least interested to see where that goes. But next up, Death of the Family, so we'll see how that turns out.